Good evening, everyone. We are here once again. Today is the second Monday of the month. You know that because it's in English. So even if you don't know that, you know that now. So every second Monday of each month, we have this, we have a special talk here at Cantinho, at our little spot of light in English about the gospel according to Spiritism. And we do that to, try to make us get a little bit more used to the words, to the vocabulary of Spiritism in English, to every one of us. So we can, increase our vocabulary. We can, talk about the Spiritist teachings in English. There are lots of groups in the United States and in UK as well, and in other countries that do that. And despite not having a big audience of English only speaking people, but I think it's we've been doing this for quite a while now. It's almost, 14, 15 years. And it's once a month. So I think it's good for us to have a little change. And since we are here in this country that has English as its first language, why not, right? Put a little bit of effort in learning the language, in trying to understand it as best as we can, trying to speak if we can, so that we can give back to the country that gives us so much. So it is, I think it is one of our duties as good citizens, good people that are trying to live elsewhere. If I were to live in Italy, I would probably like to learn Italian, right? If we go to Brazil and we're not Brazilian, it would be good for the person that's going to live there to learn Portuguese, to better communicate. Why not us? Why not do the same? So that's one of the reasons why we do this. We're going to have a little prayer now. After I do the prayer, Simone is going to be here. We're going to all see her tonight, unless we close our eyes, and she's going to talk about the eyes. So let's see what she has to talk about the eyes in a few seconds, and then I'll be back to talk about the Gospel according to Spiritism, item number 9 from chapter 14. It's I'm going to talk about children's ingratitude and family ties. So let's do our initial prayer. Thinking about God, thinking about our dear friend and Master Jesus, and asking them for their blessings to all of us. Saying, dear God, once again, here we are, gathered together within your love, within your power, and within your glory to understand the teachings that you have been sending us throughout the years, through very many different messengers, so that we can learn the main message of life, which is love. May we tonight feel your love, learn your love, so that we can always love more and more. So be it. So let's invite Simone for her talk.
Good evening, everybody. I'm very happy to be here with you. And tonight, as Mackenzie was saying, we are going to read a message from the book Our Daily Bread by the Spirit Emmanuel, psychographed by Chico Xavier. The number is the number 169, and it's called Eyes. Their eyes are full of adultery. Second letter of Peter, chapter 2, verse 14. Eyes full of adultery constitute a rebellious malady in our evolutionary struggles. Rare are those who use their eyes as blessed lanterns, and few are those who use them as living instruments for sanctifying work. Most people use them to spot the worst in whatever situation they find themselves. Ordinary people usually look at a certain situation only to determine the angles most advantageous to their inferior interests. If they cross a field, they do not make note of its beneficent function for society, but the potential for the personal and immediate gain it might offer. If men meet an affable sister on the human path, they frequently scheme dishonorable connections. If they run into their friends in places where they themselves have come to fulfill their unworthy intentions, they do not recognize them as possible bearers of elevated ideas, but as competitors of their own unfortunate plans. Let us heed Simon Peter's cry of alarm and put aside the habit of studying a situation with an eye on evil. Optimistic eyes know how to extract sublime teachings from the most diverse situations on their path. Let no one invoke the need to be watchful, just so they can justify manifestations of malice. Prudent Christians recognize their own problems, but they never see evil where evil does not exist. So Emmanuel is talking about how we use our eyes, but also talks about how we should use our eyes. As children, spiritually speaking, as we have been talking about, we are still children. We don't use our eyes very well, right? He talks about adultery, and I thought it was interesting that after he mentioned about adultery, he actually expanded the word, because as he talks about adultery eyes first, he reminds us, like when he also wrote through Chico, the Consoler, right? That sex was going to be one of the last obstacles for us to overcome on this planet. And when he talks about adultery eyes, he is talking about the malice that some people will look at other people's bodies with desire, and rarely they look at people, us. I cannot put myself aside, right? We're all here, of course, ones more than others. But when you talk about adultery, there are other feelings and actions that get involved in it, like unfaithfulness, infidelity, malice, disloyalty, intrigue, and that's why he expanded, and he said, sometimes we're with friends, but we go to a bar and we want to drink, So you don't go to a bar to drink to talk about Jesus. Usually that doesn't happen, does it? No. And also, I got curious because he mentions a man looking at a sister, one of her sisters, at a woman with malice. And I'm thinking, well, women are coming up with adultery, not just eyes, but the action itself. You know, I was like, I wonder if the men are still the ones that commit adultery still more than women. And for my surprise, it's almost the same now. I was a little bit shocked, to be honest with you. I was a little bit shocked. And also, another thing that I did a little bit of research is that in some countries of Africa and in Europe, it's actually something that is not that uncommon. It's more liberal. Perhaps in Europe, it's more liberal, and in Africa, they don't really care. It's not that it's liberal; they just do it. Like in France, in Italy, in Spain, according to the research that I did, it's almost like a common sense. They have open relationships and things like that. So it varies from culture to culture. And like I have been teaching my children to be responsible for the feelings of people that they captivate. And one day, my son went out with a family member. And when he came back home, he was shocked. I'm going to use that word because that's what happened. He couldn't understand. He's 15. Today he's 16, but he was 15. And the guy married with a child. We're just the two of them. And they stopped at a stop sign, and a very beautiful woman passed in front of them. My son was quiet, and this guy, as a Brazilian would do, started talking about the girl. And my son was like confused. You married. What are you doing? So the eyes, right? Another thing about the eyes that I think I have told you guys this before. Maybe not all of you heard me saying this, so I'm going to say it again. I met a young adult boy, a man, here in the United States. He's close to us, to our family. Grew up without any religion and no sexual education whatsoever. Neither the mother or the father taught him about sexuality. And the schools they will talk about the reproductive systems and everything, but they don't talk about emotions. They don't talk about sexuality. They don't talk about adultery, betrayal. They don't talk about things like that. So where do you think he learned about sexuality? Online. Can I say the word pornography? That's where he learned. But the amazing thing was, the end of that story is that he comes out of that and he comes to me and he says, I can't stand this anymore because I learned to look at girls. So the eyes. I learned to look at girls with desire, and every girl I look at, that's what I think about. And I don't like it. Guys, he didn't like it. I start to imagine what kind of soul is that, right? Because if you start to think about, again, like cultures, right? Like imagine a child that was born in the slums of Brazil. I know that every situation is a different situation, but I'm going to imagine in a specific one that this child, let's say it's a boy, was born in the slums of Brazil. And the only thing he saw growing up was violence, drugs, disrespect, probably sexual abuse as well, probably even inside his house. Who is teaching this child to look at a woman with respect? Because we learn what we live. It doesn't matter if it's the slum. The boy is American, medium class, white, American. And he was having trouble looking at girls. And he decided for himself, which it was, well, for himself, but I guess that he had other ways also to learn about it. Once that he started to feel uncomfortable, he reached out for other things. He had the opportunity to find information. Do you really think that the kids from the slums have that opportunity? So Emmanuel is saying, eyes on evil. We learn what we live. So education is very important to talk about these things, because we're not talking just about adultery. Again, we are talking about anything that our eyes can see. What is the mindset behind our eyes? What is the mindset? This child, that's all he knows. Violence, disrespect. That's all he sees. So if he grew up in an unsafe place like this, everywhere he goes, he's going to spot problems like that. He's going to have his eyes on evil. He's not going to be able, well, we are still children, considering that we are, spiritually speaking, children. If nobody else shows him something different, what's going to change? So it's very important that we listen to Simon Peter when he talks, when he alerts us to stop looking at situations with an eye on evil. Because honestly, like the spirits say, Jesus came to teach us. So if nobody teaches us, if somebody older than us, better than us, don't give us the example, it's kind of hard for us to do it alone. With all the examples we have had throughout history, and we still, it's like, it's still hard. And instead of eyes on evil, we should transform these eyes into blessed lanterns and sanctifying work. Just one last thing before I finish that I would like to, like this one example that I would like to talk about is this man that he went to Africa by himself, and he went because he wanted to get to know the continent. And what he saw, it was what most of us already know: a lot of poverty, malnutrition, people dying. And with what he saw, he transformed that into sanctifying work, because from his own money, he drilled, pulled, made over 100 wells that brought fresh water, where before people and children would have to walk for hours for a bucket of dirty water. So he went there and he saw what he saw, and he transformed that into something good. So let's do our best to try to see the best in every situation instead of the opposite. Thank you very much. And Mackenzie is going to come back and talk about the gospel according to Spiritism. Thank you.
Thank you, Simone, for your view on the ice. So we are finishing chapter 14 tonight. Honor your father and mother. That's the title of the chapter. And we are on item number 9, which is a very long item written in Paris in 1862 through a mediumship of we don't know who. And it's said to be, this message is said to have come from St. Augustine. St. Augustine is one of most well-known, they would call him father of the Catholic Church. And also we have his name on the Spirit's book in one of the most cited questions, which deals with know yourself, knowing ourselves. So he has a long answer talking about how we should and what we should do to know a little bit more about ourselves. So tonight's message is going to come from him. And as I always say at the end, sometimes I say it in the beginning and at the end, it's highly recommended that we read the message. And tonight even more so, if you don't fully understand the English, but I recommend reading in English and then in Portuguese, if you would like to, because it can help with not only the understanding, but also, like I said in the beginning, in increasing our vocabulary too. So we can kind of see how some words can relate to others. So tonight's topic is the spirits. It's part of what Kardec when he divides the chapters of the Gospel according to Spiritism. He divides the chapters in two parts. The first part, he grabs a little bit of a passage from one of the Gospels, either Mark or Matthew or Luke or John, or sometimes from the Old Testament, from a passage from the Bible. And then he makes some comments about that topic, explaining how Spiritism sees that part. And then the last part of the chapter, mostly all chapters, he has messages that they received through their mediumship meetings, and not only his meetings. Sometimes he would receive these messages from across Europe. So people would be having meetings in other countries or in other cities where he was not in, and then they would send the message to him, and then he would later on, check, read, put them down for a while, then read again just to review it. And in the Gospel according to Spiritism, he gets some of these messages and ties some of these messages with some of these chapters, and then he ends these chapters with some very interesting messages from the spiritual world, from spirits that sometimes we know who the spirits are, sometimes we don't know who the spirits are, because it's not the name that it's important. It's what the message contains. It's what's inside. It's what the message brings. So if it says that it's from a person that I know that was famous, but then the message doesn't say anything that's important, maybe it's not that person. Maybe it's just a spirit trying to pass as if it's that person. So he doesn't look at the name. He just sees what the message really is. So tonight, the message is children's ingratitude and family ties. How we are tied together in family reunion. The chapter again, honor your father and your mother. So we are all together. But my first question before before I start, and for us to think a little bit about it, is who is a child, or what is a child? The title is Children's Ingratitude. So it's the ingratitude of the children's ingratitude and family ties. Um, of course, that it's very rare that a child will read this book, because it's not the kind of language that a child will read this book, right? So I can clearly see, and I guess you can see as well, that when he's saying children's ingratitude, he's talking to us about the children that are ingrateful or ungrateful towards the adults. And when we read the message, that's exactly how we feel. That's exactly how I feel, is that he is talking to the parents. He's trying to make us understand why, maybe, depending on the family situation that we live, why maybe there are some of our kids, some of our children are not grateful. They treat their parents badly. They don't do what we expect the children to do. But that kept me thinking about myself. Although you may look at me and think that I'm an old man, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. uh, I can imagine, and I can see my mom, if she's ever angry at me, calling me a boy. I remember this interview that I once saw in Brazilian television. I tell this story quite a lot because I find this fascinating. So this very famous Brazilian interviewer, he had these two gentlemen to be interviewed, and these two gentlemen, they were not famous; they were regular people. For whatever reason, he picked up these two guys, and I cannot remember their names. I cannot remember exactly what they were talking. But this passage, this moment in the interview is to me, it shows exactly what I want to tell about this. The one is the father of the other. So it's father and son. They are being interviewed by the guy. The father, I don't know. Oh, the interviewer was Jô Soares. So, um, so the old man, or the father, is not close to the microphone, or it's sitting down right here. So he's about 90 years old, and his son is about 70 years old. So they're both old men, right? Jô Soares, the interviewer, asks the son something, and the son starts answering. As soon as the son starts answering, the father call him, boy, you're telling the story wrong. But he is 70 years old. It doesn't matter the age, right? It doesn't matter the age. What I want to say is, although and despite this ingratitude, when from the point of view of him who is talking to us here, he's talking to us about the ingratitude of children. I am my mom's children or child, right? So I can still be ungrateful. So what I want to say is, although this message is apparently for us to understand the children that we have and that maybe they are ungrateful, we have to ask ourselves the other way around, if how and am I as a child of my father and mother being ungrateful to them? So this message is not just for one side, because, and why am I saying this? I'm saying this because to me, and I guess that to a lot of us, it is very easy to maybe forget that a specific message is for the other, not for myself. And one task that I put myself into all the time when I'm reading something, that when I'm studying something, is asking myself how that applies to me, not to the other. Because it doesn't matter. The other doesn't matter when I'm learning. It is very easy for us to judge, very easy for us to look at the others and see what the other one is doing. It's very easy for us to see how this girl, that woman, that man, that boss, that whatever, whoever it is, what they're doing wrong. But what am I doing wrong? And that's the hardest part. So when I started looking at this, the very first sentence, and maybe we could talk the whole night just about the very first sentence, because it could bring a lot of stuff to it. Ingratitude, says St. Augustine, ingratitude is one of the most immediate fruits of selfishness. Being ungrateful. And see here, he didn't start talking about children and parents. It's a very generic sentence. And I bet this is on purpose. It's not just to talk about our family ties and being ungrateful towards someone who gave us love, but it is for us to start thinking about the idea of being ungrateful, of not being thankful about the things of the world. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's towards a person, if it's towards something that I got, if it's something that I have, if it's something that I didn't have, that I didn't get yet, that I'm not allowed to have yet because I was not able to achieve it for whatever reason. Oh, so many people that I want to be a doctor, I want to be this, I want to become this, and then they try, they study, and they can't. And I always ask myself, if I couldn't get it, if I couldn't be that, what did I do with my life? Am I just waiting then? I'm working on something else. Even if I don't become what I wanted to be, all of a sudden I am in a different position, I am in a different work, I met a different person, and now my life is totally changed, and I'm happy with that person. But if I am stuck in the past of something that I tried and I didn't get it, am I fully happy? No, because I'm stuck back in the past. So not being grateful for not achieving it is making me stuck in the past and not happy with what I got right now. He says that in the text that it is hard when we of all the trials, he says, the hardest are those that affect the heart. Of all the trials, if we are hungry, if we had a problem in our, um, it's hard. But if it's something that affects the heart, that affects the feelings, it will be there. And how can I remove it? So, being ungrateful, not having the gratitude or being grateful for things that happen to us, scars our hearts, leaves deep marks. And for us to get rid of these scars, we would need a new heart. We would need a new heart, a transplant. Spiritism, when we look at a situation of a person being ungrateful towards another, especially in this case here that he's talking about, a parent and a son or a daughter, that the daughter or the son is not treating their parents well, don't recognize what the efforts that their parents did. Spiritism looks at this and says, if we look at this situation based only in this life, it's hard to understand because it's just physical. You never met the person, you never did anything, especially if it starts from an early age. Sometimes it starts late, and then you can see that, maybe sometimes it's the behavior of the parents that triggers something in the kid or something. But sometimes it starts at a really early age. So where does this thing come from? So Spiritism looks at this and understanding that we are not the bodies that we have, that we are spirits, that we came from somewhere. It shows us and tells us, okay, something must have happened between the spirits. Something. What was it? I don't know. We can't remember. But if I'm walking in my house and I'm all of a sudden I'm walking and then my feet is getting all stuck on the floor, right? And I had cleaned the floor, something was dropped there. And if I have a kid, right, probably he or she dropped something on the floor, try to clean it, didn't clean it perfectly because, of course, they don't know, but they were afraid because, of course. And then we go ask them what they're going to say. Probably, at first place, I have no idea what happened. I don't know what happened. And then you press just a little bit, and then oh, maybe something fell. And then they start telling everything. I don't know what it was, but I know that there was something, right? Do I need to know exactly what it was? Not necessarily. I just need to know how to clean it up. It's the same thing. If I'm having an issue with someone, maybe, depending on what it is, maybe if I know exactly what it is, it can help a little bit. But if I know that it happens every time with the same type of thing, I can have a very good idea of what it is and then what I need to do to fix it. The question is, do I want to fix it? Do I have the will to fix it? Yeah. Can I fix it by myself? Maybe I can't. Maybe I can't. It doesn't mean, though, that I shouldn't try to do at least my part. Not to do the other one's part, because the other one's part is the other one's job. If I'm a teacher, I'm not going to do the exercises for my kids. I'm going to teach them. I'm going to show them. I can even copy their exercise and do something very similar so that they can visualize it, but they have to put the effort to do it. Otherwise, they will not learn. So it's the same thing when I'm trying to solve a problem with someone. If I leave to the other to do all the job, it's my responsibility of not doing and putting my effort on. And to some degree, that's okay as well. God does not, charge us to do everything all at once. So the only thing is, and I learned this with here in the Spiritism Center in one conversation we had with someone a while ago. He said something that I found to be very interesting. He said, I want to become a nurse, and it is very hard to study to become a nurse. And he said that someone looked at it. So, and then he said, "Oh, maybe I'll start next semester." And then a friend of his or someone told him, "But if you start next semester, it will take one extra semester at the end for you to finish." There's no problem. It's one more semester. What are you going to do from now to when the classes start? You can choose to start now or choose next semester. It's upon us. So it will just take more time. What are we willing to do? Do I want to do it now, start now, to finish the job earlier? Or am I leaving for the next opportunity? And then comes the next question. When is the next opportunity? Do I know when is it going to be? I don't know. I really don't know. It can be tomorrow. It can be, never. It can be from next life, right? This weekend, and I'm not friends with the guy, and I don't know his number and everything. My boss knows him. I know him from work. We did some work for him, and my boss came to me last Friday, and he said, "You know that guy?" And he said, "Yeah. He just had an accident in a town close to where I work, and a car came, hit him, and ran. Nobody knows where the guy was. They found the car later, and so on. He lost his leg. He was crossing the street. Can you imagine? Just a simple guy, just like us. It's not." And we see news like that every day, but it's people that we don't know, so it kind of doesn't hit us. But when we know a person, and then that happens to that person, I saw him 2 months ago, which is a long time, but it has a connection to me. It can happen to us at any time. So that's why I asked, when will we start? And that's basically what he says here. We know the problems, we know the difficulties, we know the issues, we know that we have stuff to resolve with people that we come together, be it our husband, our wife, our boyfriend, our boss, it doesn't matter. We are here, right? Marcos is there taking care of the computer, right? I don't know how he stands me, but he goes there and sits with me all the time. It doesn't matter where we are. right? We will always have something to rejoice together, but if we are close for a long period of time, we will have issues. It's normal. What do we do about it? Do we leave it for just to leave it, or do we act upon it? Um, he says it here, and about what I'm just speaking. He says the constant contact with individuals that we used to hate, because remember, we are not this body. We came together for a reason. What is the reason? I don't know. But if I had some issues, with Marcos, and he is right there, and I'm sitting with him at the computer to do stuff, being together and forgetting stuff, but being together, these things will pop up at one time. And how are we going to deal with this? As grown adults, we can maybe sometimes talk, sometimes we can't. Sometimes we just, each one goes its own way and we never see it again. And then it happens again with someone else because I still didn't resolve it inside of me. I had this colleague at work like 15 years ago or more. And one day he was, we were having this meeting with a lot of people, and he was saying that, oh, I came from this other place where I used to work, and I have issue with someone, and that someone had an issue with me. And then I moved from that work, from that job to another job, and then I had issue with that person, and I'm there like I had just started working there. I mean, it was like 2 weeks or something less, and was my first meeting with these guys. I barely knew them. So this guy was saying this, right? Then my boss, or the boss, comes in and looks at, and then he's working there, right? So the boss looks at him and he says, "Do you know what common denominator is in math? You know, when you put like a division and then you divide the number on top with the bottom, right? And then you're adding fractions. This is a math class now. So if you're adding fractions, I don't know if you've been doing this already. So you have 1/2, and then you have 3/4. You cannot add them together right now. You have to make these two numbers in the bottom be the same so that we can add the top. So if it's 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4, I have to make this one 4. So this would be 2, this will be 4. Then we can put the common denominator, make them the same, make them common, make them equal. Then the guy says, yeah, I know what the common denominator is. Yeah. So you have a job, you had another job, and you had another job. There were problems here, here, and here. Who was the same person who was in the 3 jobs? Who was the common denominator? And then he stops and he doesn't say anything else because he, the boss, and he was making a joke. He was actually making a joke. But it was a joke that made me think and made him think, and probably, hopefully, made everybody think. But that was a very clever thing to say, because sometimes we move from one place to the other. We move from one relationship to the other. We don't want to be, if I had another person as my son or as my, it would be the same problem or similar problem or a different problem, but there will be problems nonetheless because we are the problem. It's not the problem itself. It's I am the problem. I want everything to be done my way, or I want everything to be done the other person's way. And then sometimes the other person doesn't want to do it. He wants you to do it. That's some problem that I have with my wife. She says, choose. And I said, let's go where you want to go. And he says, no, I want you to choose. And then I have a problem in choosing. So you see, so we all have issues, we all have problems. And how do we solve them? We have to take responsibility. And even if I don't want to, I have to sometimes. And I have to take charge of what I need to do. Family ties bring us together. And when I say also family ties, I'm not only saying family ties in terms of blood relations, for example. I just cited Marcus, for example, right? I'm joking here, but not joking, because here we call this place where we are now, we call this place a family. And when we call this place a family, and when I'm saying the place, I'm not saying the walls, right? Because walls are not my family, right? But people that are make this place a family. And because this is a family, guess what? There are problems. Of course, it's natural. There's nothing wrong with this. And why are we together? We are together to grow together, to improve together. So, can we sometimes be showing gratitude towards a person that did something? We can. And what should we do then when we realize it, when someone tells us, when someone points at it to us? To go and apologize, forgive, forget, to do our part. Oh, if the other person doesn't want it, what can I do? I can keep trying. There will be a point where there's nothing much more that I can do. Okay, so leave it now, because it's not up to you anymore. And we know that it is not easy. We know that it is very hard. But we also know that although the feeling is not complete because the other person didn't acknowledge it, but once we realize that we did our part of the job, our conscience will be calmer, will be more tranquil, will be more at peace with ourselves and with the situation, because we're really trying, we're really striving to do. But if we lack and we leave it, later on, our conscience will say, "What did you do?" And I will ask myself, and I will put a weight on my back more than what the world already gives. Because the weight of the world, I heard this sentence today and I find it to be very interesting. The weight of the world will not change. And I still have to carry it. So what do? Strengthen my back, right? I exercise so I am stronger, because the weight of the world is the same. The problems are not going to be less, but I can be stronger and look at them and face them in a different way. So one of the things is, and these are all teachings from Jesus. We can say it in different ways, but don't do to others what you don't want them to do to you. That's one of the first. So if I think that there's a person that's showing ingratitude towards me, what should I do then? Don't show ingratitude. Be grateful all the time. But we complain about things and we do the same things that we complain about. So we don't want stuff to happen, and we do the same things that will allow those things to keep happening. Oh, I don't want this to happen. Yeah, but right here, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing exactly the same thing that I don't want to happen here. Oh, but here, there's no excuse. But it's hard for us. It is hard because we want what we want. And sometimes we don't really understand that what we want is exactly what we are saying that other people are doing. And then we get frustrated. If I die being selfish, I will be born selfish. I can change a little bit while I'm out there, dead. But I'm not going to be able to solve the problem. Because if I'm there and if I'm trying to do something and I can do something better to improve myself mentally, when I come back, the body imposes stuff on me that it's hard for me to get out of. Because the body gets an imprint of who I am. My brain is modified according to what I really am. My body, my cells, everything. So it is very hard to come out of this imposition that I put on myself. And the only person that can change that is me. I am the only one that have the power to change that. So if I'm living with someone that does one thing that I don't like, I ask myself, why don't I like it? What is the point of not liking it? What makes, and then from that, I can ask myself, what can I do to change that? The thought is simple. Doing it is hard. But that's how we do it. With anything that I want to change, with anything that I want to learn. If I'm trying to become a mathematician, a physician, a doctor, whatever it is, people say that we need a full year of practice in something to be good at that something. And then the person said, oh, 1 year. Yeah, it's easy. And then the other said, yeah, 1 year, but it's not 1 year doing 30 minutes a day. It's one full year of doing stuff. It's 365 days times 24 hours. So that's the amount of hours that you need to practice to really be good at something. And we want to go to the Spiritism Center, take some passes, and think that everything will be solved and everything will be okay. No, it's exercise. It's doing it. It's practicing. It's slowly, and it's tiring sometimes. And that's why we come. We don't come for the Spiritism Center to solve our problems, but we come for us to get a little bit more strength on our backs to carry the weight of the world. So, as I started saying, this ingratitude that he talks about here, and I didn't talk about 1% of what he touches here. So my advice again is read the message. It will say what I said in much, much more, because there's so much more stuff here that I was able to talk about. But one thing that I'd like to stick is this ingratitude that he talks about is not about my kids towards me. It's about me being ungrateful towards anything that I have in my life, including, and maybe that's one of the worst ingratitudes that I could have, is towards my parents, but towards anything. So the message, although the message is called Children's Ingratitude, I would like to invite everybody in this month of November, that we're in this month of being thankful of stuff because of the Thanksgiving that we always, we celebrate in this country, for us to learn to be grateful to things. Grateful for our parents, even if they were absent, even if they were not there for us, because if they weren't there for us, we wouldn't be here right now. So if we have only one thing to think about for them, is that they were able to give me life. I don't have anything else to thank them for. Let's thank them for that, so we can put some good in our hearts. It's not even for them, it's for me, because when I'm grateful, I'm putting good things in my heart. When I'm ungrateful and I think about the others or the other people, the other stuff that happens with the bad thing, it is as if I have charcoal in my hands though that black thing in my hands, and I'm throwing at the world and thinking that I'm going to be clean, I'm going to be all dirty, full of black stuff because I'm throwing charcoal in the world. So if I want to be clean, let's be clean from the inside. So the message for today is, let's be grateful to everything that happens to us. And from that, start working towards a better future, a better tomorrow in our lives. Oh, something bad happened today to me. Let's thank that that happened to me. I don't know what that will become later on. I have a friend to finish, not a friend, a colleague of mine. She was a friend of my sister. She is, oh, she was a closer friend to my sister. Now they're not so close anymore. But she she had cancer, and I was a while ago, maybe 10 years ago. I was doing like a little uh, podcast episode about something, and I wanted to talk to her. So I wanted to talk to her about her problem, about what she had, and um, she said, "Oh, I made a small video on YouTube." She's from Natal, where I was born, and I made a small video on YouTube when it was happening. So she was telling her whole story, like in small videos, like 3-minute videos, and so on. So when she was going through chemotherapy and all that stuff, and she was going through and explaining how it is, what she felt, and so on. And then at one point, after she got through with it, and she is a survival of the cancer that she got, and so on. And she said at one point that a person um, came to her and asked her what was the biggest lesson that she got from the cancer, from this whole ordeal that she went through, that was 2 years more or less of her life. She lost all her hair, all that stuff that we know. And she says, the thing that I learned was that if I had to go through this again, I would, and they said, do you choose to go through this, or would you not want to go through this? And she said, I would, today I would say with certainty, give me again. Because today I am a person that's completely different than it was when I was before I had cancer. I have a completely different view of life, and my life is so much, much better than it was before. I don't wish to have cancer. No one should wish to have cancer or any disease for that matter. Nothing. But if it happens, take it the best way we can take it. And let's be thankful. Because when we are, we will learn and we will grow. It is hard. It is a hard pill to digest. It is something that's very hard. But so many people that lived through different difficult times, when they were able to go after, even if they don't survive, and being spiritists, we know that we survive. The survival rate is 100%. People will say it's worth it if we take it with a heart full of gratitude. So that's the message for tonight. And with this, I'm going to do the final prayer. Nancy is we're going to do some passes. And thank you for being here tonight. So let's finish our meeting for tonight with a prayer, with our hearts full of gratitude, asking our dear God, asking Jesus and the good spirits that surround us to bless us with their vibrations of perseverance, of patience, and of love. Thank you, God, for everything that we've been getting, for our lives, for being alive, for being here in this country, working, enjoying life the best that we can, but also learning to love, learning to love others and to spread love wherever we go. May these blessings be with us. May these blessings cover our families, our friends, our co-workers. May we all learn to share this love through our thoughts, our words, but most importantly, through our actions. May we smile more. May we hug more. May we be more present in the lives of the ones that surround us so that we can share the life that you give to us every single day. May your love fill our lives now and always. So be it.